morning everybody. Welcome to another week on RTO with Iain, and today we are doing a band from my very own town. Yes, band from Northampton, probably one of the most famous ones from Northampton. We're talking about Bauhaus, of course, formed in 1978 here in Northampton. The group was Daniel Ash, guitar and saxophone, Pete Murphy on the vocals and occasional instruments, Kevin Haskins on drums, and David J on the bass. The band were originally called Bauhaus 19 in reference to the first operating year of the German art school Bauhaus, but it was shortened, certainly very shortened, bit of a mouthful. They say they're one of the pioneers of Gothic rock, so that's something. They were known for their dark image and gloomy sound, although they did mix their genres, including dub, glam rock and psychedelia and funk. They were a pretty good band. I've never been a great fan of them. You know, they're from Northampton, and I thought I'd better do a band from my own town. They made some really good singles that weren't on the albums, but on their albums there are some really good tracks. They made 5 albums altogether, so we're going to have a look at them. I've enjoyed listening to them, I must admit. Some of them I've heard before, but some of them I hadn't, so it was an interesting listen. So okay then, coming in at number 5. This is the 5th and final album that they put together, released in 2008, and it was their first album since 1983, and it's called Go Away White. Shortly after this was released, the band announced they would be their final record, and they didn't even tour for it, so this was the final fling. Okay, the first track on the album is called Too Much 21st Century. This has got a great opening riff, very strong bass line. It's a really good track. It harks back to the glory days of Bauhaus. Really good. Then we get Adrenaline. Love this again. Some great bass work here from David J. He is a really good bass player. That's the best thing about this song. It really does drive the song along. Underdone, again, solid track, but the singing sounds like they're all out of too many sherbets. It doesn't make any sense, and it's a bit out of key. International Bulletproof Talent, another very good track. I don't know, it's you can see they've matured over the years, and they can still make records. Endless Summer of the Damned, my favourite track on here. It's got some great drumming from Kevin Haskins, really good solid drum on here, really good track. Saved, this is really weird. This is weirdness for Bauhaus. This is very, very weird. Do I like it? Not really. It's just too weird for me, even me. Mirror Remains. This is very psychedelic. Really good track. Except the guitar is so annoying. It's about 3 keys out of what everyone else is doing. It reminds me of Slash's guitar solo in Live and Let Die. It just doesn't resemble anything what everyone else is playing. Let me get Black Heartstone. Very good track. Got a really good beat to it. Very, very good. The Dog's Vapor. Again, this has got some very annoying guitar work on it. It just doesn't do anything for me. And Sakia, just not my cup of tea at all. Okay, a mixed bag on this album. It was nice to see them get back together and have a bash. There are some really good tracks on here, but there's some that really are just filler for me. So I'll give it an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 4. This is the debut album. Released in November 1980 in the Flat Field. They say this is the first real gothic rock album ever out. First track, Double Dare. This is weird for the time. It was a little bit, I think they were a little bit too early for what they were doing. A bit like XTC, they were a little bit too early for that genre, but it's got a really, really good strong drum beat, but the rest of it is a little bit confusing. Then we get the title track, In the Flat Field. Very, very good track. One of the best tracks on the album and one of their best tracks. A God in an Alcove. Very experimental stuff on this. But pretty decent though. You know, they were trying to do something different in rock. Indie rock, post-punk rock, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, they did do a decent job on that one. Dive. This has got some driving riffs in this. Terrific guitar work. He was a very good guitarist, was Daniel Ash. Wasn't scared to experiment. Really good. Spy in the Cab. I struggle with this one. It's a little bit too much for me. I've got nothing wrong with experimental music, but there is limits. Small Talk Stinks. Best track on here. Great guitar work from Daniel and David J. Forgot his name. David J. Yeah. Very, very good vocal from Pete Murphy as well. Vitus Dance, another good track, great rock track, very punky in places, very, very good. Stigmata Martyr, again some great riffs in this, some great drumming. Singing's a little bit off kilter, but nevertheless very good. Nerves. This one is alright, it just goes on a bit too long for me. But for a debut album, it was very experimental. It's got some good tracks on here. Some of them are a little bit weird and they don't seem to be much cohesion with them. It was difficult to... I like it and I like most of it, but some of the tracks I just didn't. But I'll give it an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 3. Released in 1983, Burning from the Inside. Now they got the track name when I think it's Kevin Haskins and Daniel Ash were smoking a little bit of wacky backy in the car, and the car caught fire. The other thing about this album, during the recording, singer Peter Murphy was ill, so it left the rest of the guys to put out the album, do some singing and writing and recording without him. But it's a very good album. First track, She's in Partings. Love this track, always have loved this track. It's got atmospheric guitar, the bass line is driving, and the singing is pretty good. Then we get Antonin Artward, something like that. Another good track. Kevin's drumming on this is superb. Really good track. Then we get this 20-second pointless rubbish Wasp. Don't know what it's doing there, unless they forgot to switch off the machine. Then we get the best track on the album, King Volcano. I love this. This is weird, but it's different for Bauhaus. The vocal is really good. There's some great harmonies on this track. And it's very catchy, although it's weird. Who Killed Mr. Moonlight? Total different thing for Bauhaus this track was. There's piano on it. It's a very good track. It's melodic. Probably one of the most melodic songs that Bauhaus ever did. Very, very good track. Slice of Life. Another different sort of track. The atmosphere on this is really good. Some great guitar work. Very experimental for them. It just seems that, you know, they decided to go for it even though Peter wasn't there. And they come up with a really good track there. Honeymoon Croon. Classic Bauhaus this is. Terrific song. Stabbing guitar riffs, thumping drums, and a very, very catchy hook tune. Kingdoms Coming. Very gentle. Acoustic. Bit different again, but really good. Burning from the Inside. It's a good song, but it's just far too long for Bauhaus. This is 9 minutes and 21. They're better at doing these short, sharp songs. Trying to do something a bit longer, it sort of fell apart at the end, and it didn't seem to be going anywhere. Hope. Now this track actually sounds like something that U2 did 10 years later, which is fantastic. You know, this is a great track, one of my favourites. This album, considering Pete Murphy was not on it because of his illness, they made a really good album, and I really do like this one. And I'll give it an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 2 is the second album, released in 1981. In fact, so it's October the 16th. First track, Hair of the Dog. Really psychedelic start to this. It goes into like a rocky track. It's really good. Very, very good track. And The Passion of Lovers. Very good track. Very catchy riff in these. Some of the guitar effects in this are fantastic. Yeah, considering this was what, 1981. Don't know what they were doing, but they got it right on that one. And Of Lilies and Remains, a little bit different, but again David J comes through with a superb bass line. Pete Murphy's singing in this is more of a talk. It's a bit rappy punky, but it's a good track. Dancing, great rock track, great stuff. Reminds me a little bit of Queens of the Stone Age. Very, very good track. Hollow Hills. Great bass line. You can tell these are influenced by the early David Bowie tracks. Very, very good. Kick in the Eye. This is quite funky. Got a really good funky bass line in this. And some terrific drumming. Not a bad track. In the Fear of Fear, again, David J's bass work in this is fantastic. Very solid. Muscle in Plastic, weird as Bauhaus get, I just couldn't get on with it. The Man with X-Ray Eyes, I really like this track. It's post-punk. The drumming on it is absolutely thundering. Very, very good. Then we get the title track, a really good song again, Mask is. Lots of different guitar textures. Another great track. Okay, this was a much better album than the debut. They sort of got a little bit more direction, and that Bauhaus sound was starting to evolve very, very well. It's an absolutely stunning album, better than the first one, as I said. So I'll give it an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. So my number 1 is the third album, released in 1982, The Sky's Gone Out. This is when I think that Bauhaus were at their best. This is an album that I've heard quite a lot. It's got some of the really well-known songs on here. Opens up with a Brian Eno cover, Third Uncle. Great version of the song. Very, very good. Silent Hedges, a fantastic track. The arrangement in this is really good, and it sounds mature for only their third album. It was terrific. In the Night, fantastic. Great guitar riffs from Daniel on this. The solo is very, very good, and then you get this sudden change tempo. Really, really good. Swing the Heartache. It's got one of the best guitar intros. Very eerie song. Which was what Bauhaus were about. Very dark, very good. Spirit, really good track, solid. And then we come to a track it's into 3 parts, but this is the best thing they ever put down on vinyl in my eyes. It's split into 3 parts. It's called The Three Shadows. The first bit is an instrumental piece, really nice textures. It's very progressive rock as well. Fantastic song. The part 2, this is more psychedelic. It's got that 60s feel to it. Brilliant bass line. Fantastic. And the last part, weird end to the song, but it's very, very good. It's just all very, very early Bowie influence. A little bit of Pink Floyd in there as well. The whole song. It's a terrific song. Then we get All We Ever Wanted Was Everything. This is excellent. It's a cross between an XTC and early David Bowie. Absolutely brilliant track. My second favourite track on this album, and it's probably one of my favourite tracks ever by Bauhaus. Exquisite Corpse. This, you can tell the influences of David Bowie in the Ziggy Stardust era of his career. Absolutely brilliant track. That's all I'll say. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The last 3 or 4, last part of this album is superb. This is why it's the best album they've done. I think the three Shadows is very bit of a concept track as well. It's a mini album. Well, it's a mini album within an album. It's very, very good. They've matured since the first album, and I'll give this album an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. Okay, normally I never do this, but I must mention this song, and I think it's probably the song that they're really known for, and it was a cover of Ziggy Stardust. Absolutely brilliant version. This showed that they were influenced by David Bowie and Ziggy Stardust, The Spiders from Mars. Released it as a single in 1982. I think everyone went and bought this because it was a Northampton band getting on top of the pops was something else for us. And you reached number 15, but it's a great version. So I thought I would just give a bit of love to a band that's from my hometown. When we were growing up, we thought, oh wow, we've got a band in the charts, and they were pioneers of the goth rock. As I said, they weren't one of my favourite bands, but they they did make some excellent tracks. Okay, first show of the week done. We got a second show to do, and it is Classic Album Day, and we're going to be looking at a band that we featured in a retro ranking not so long ago, but we're going to look at the Human League's album Dare, which will be very good. So I will see you all for that later. Take care for now.